Henry Cejudo just lost to Song Yadong in a very controversial ending. Look, do I believe that eye poke was an eye poke? Dude, that was so obvious to see. I mean, Song Yadong shoved 4 of his fingers down both of Henry Cejudo's eyes. Like, it was pretty bad, the eye poke. It was terrible to see. But, was it on purpose? I don't think so at all. With UFC fighters, with the gloves and all that, eye pokes are always bound to happen. Whether some of them are purposeful or not, they're always bound to happen. I mean, your fingers are always out. A lot of fighters leave their hands open when they do their stances, so it's always bound to happen when it comes to a certain reaction. But knowing how bad the circumstance was of the eye poke, it was bad. You could tell Triple C couldn't see out of his eyes. You see his eyes get very red. You see the blood in between the left eye. It was a bad sight. But let's talk about the fight itself. I thought Song Yadong won 2 rounds to 1. It was pretty fair. I thought Henry Cejudo won the second round. He put in more of the work in that round. But for the most part, Song Yadong was very dominant. Henry Cejudo couldn't find a solution to take him down, and he didn't look great. He had flashes, he had moments throughout the fight, but I felt that Henry Cejudo, Father Time is catching up to him. It's not been good since he's come back to the UFC. It's his 3 fights now that he's lost in a row. He didn't look great against Song Yadong. Not to say that Song Yadong put on a good performance, but guys, I don't think Song Yadong is a top contender in the bantamweight division. And when you're getting worked by a guy like that, at that point, you're not fighting for belts anymore. You're not. It's very obvious. You're not gonna reach the mountaintop. I give Cejudo credit in taking the fight and putting in work for it and this and that, because I generally thought like he had a good chance of winning this fight. But after what we saw in the 3 rounds that we watched, it wasn't great. It was not. He did not put on a good performance. Song Yadong did get the better of him throughout that fight. And even towards the 3rd round, you see Henry Cejudo really start to get tired. He was breathing a lot heavier. He really took all the time he could when he got eye poked after the 3rd round, where he sat there and rested. And dude, he just couldn't see. It sucked. It was not a good look. It just wasn't a good fight for Triple C at all. It was not good for him. The fight was not approached the way he wanted to approach it, which we saw. You know, he did good work with his feints in the early rounds, but Song Yadong just got the better of him, in my opinion. But a lot of people are upset at the fact that the fight ended as a technical decision. They were pissed off. They thought that Song Yadong should have been disqualified and that it should have been a no contest. But look, apparently in the rulebook, after a fight reaches beyond, let's say it goes beyond the 3rd round, more than halfway through the fight, apparently if a fight stops prematurely like that, like what happened with Cejudo, where he took all the 5 minutes and he finished up the round, apparently there's some weird meticulous thing where the fight will just end and they'll go to the scorecards. It doesn't end in a no contest, nothing more, nothing less, unless Song Yadong made another mistake where he eye poked him again or hit him in the balls or did something illegal in the fight. Then the fight would end as a no contest. But since that did not happen, we went to the scorecards and the judges scored it to Song Yadong, which, in all fairness, I thought was fine. I thought it was okay. But the only weird thing that I felt with that was that the fight was scored 30-27 by one of the judges, which I personally don't agree with. But Henry Cejudo did lose the fight fair and square, but it was not that much of a dominant performance throughout that fight. It was not worthy of a 30-27. But at the end of the day, Henry Cejudo, what's next for him? Man, I say this with a lot of fighters, I do, but with Cejudo, I genuinely believe he has to retire. There is nothing left for Henry Cejudo in the UFC. Like I said earlier, you lose 3 fights in a row. Yeah, you lose to a couple of killers. You lose to Marab, you lose to Aljo, and now you lose to Song Yadong. I just think there's nothing left for the man in the sport. Henry Cejudo, he had a decorative career. He beat Demetrius Johnson, one of the GOATs of the flyweight division. He held both belts in the bantamweight division and in the flyweight division. He's done everything he's needed to do. He beat Dominic Cruz, one of the most decorated bantamweight champions of all time. So the guy's got a long historic legacy, and he's aging. We know he's getting older, and guys at that age fighting in lower weight classes, like the bantamweight division, they depend a lot on speed, and Henry Cejudo is not as quick as he used to be, and the game is catching up to him. He's getting read very easily when it comes for shooting for takedowns and things like that, so I don't think there's nothing left for him to give in the sport. You gotta call it quits. If he wants to go for one more run, go ahead, but I feel like there's nothing left for the guy. You're not gonna fight for titles anymore. If you weren't gonna win this fight, you weren't gonna fight for a title or make your way back up the ranks. Cejudo, to me, done. You got a podcast with Kamaru. Stay there. Go be an analyst. If you want to evolve yourself in the sport, go be a trainer. He seems to be a very good trainer. From what we have seen, what other fighters have said, they've learned a lot from Henry Cejudo, so I think he should go into that side. You know what I mean? Just, if you want to involve yourself in the sport, be a coach. Go do things like that. There's nothing much more for him to give in this sport. And if this is his last fight, King of Cringe, it was a pleasure, but at the same time, it was very cringy. The guy's a legend at the end of the day. He brought a lot of good moments into the sport, and gotta give Henry Cejudo his credit there and his flowers. But for Song Yadong, now you get that in your resume. You beat a legend like Henry Cejudo. What's next for him? I don't know, someone else in the top 5. I maybe fight the winner between Sanhagen and Figueiredo. Maybe give him Cheeto Vera. Maybe they could run that back, Song Yadong and Cheeto Vera. Just something else. Maybe Rob Font. Give him Rob Font. Somebody else around that range in the rankings. I don't think he should fight a killer like Sean O'Malley. I don't think he should get an opportunity at Umar. Maybe they might give him to Umar, just so Umar gets a nice tune-up. It's gonna be something along those lines. My guess, give or take, would be Rob Font, Cheeto Vera, or Umar Nurmagomedov. I think that's who they're gonna feed him to. I think that's what they're going to try to do for Song Yadong. And if they give him Umar, it's pretty evident why they're giving him Umar at that point. They want Umar to get a nice performance in, make himself look good, so he can maybe make his way back up to the title. Nurmagomedov favoritism, you know how this shit rolls in the UFC. But at the end of the day, people, that's all I'm going to discuss about this fight. If you guys would like me to do a deep breakdown throughout the whole card and what happened, let me know in the comments below. Should Triple C retire? What is next for Song Yadong? Tell me all about it, what you think down below. Anyways, people, good game, boys. Catch you later. Deuces. I'm out. Subscribe.